just waiting to get verification that this is publishing to YouTube. Seems to be taking a little bit of time, so I don't even know. There we are. Okay. I think we're good. You guys in the live chat, just let me know if you're there. Let me know if this is coming through A-okay, because we're going to talk a little bit about dating today. Hello, Vaporama. We're going to talk about dating, we're going to talk about feminism, and we're going to talk about the ridiculousness of what this has done to the dating scene in 2020. And I got to tell you, it's worse than the virus. Feminism is worse than what the virus has done to dating. Social distancing. You know, feminism has nothing on this. Hey, Scott. Hey, Daniela. Okay, so let's just get into this because this is a video that I've really wanted to do for probably a couple years now. And I'm just kind of getting the nudge lately to do it. So happy birthday, Scott. Aw, everyone send some birthday love to Scott in the live chat. So, you know, I've been dating for the last few years off and on, have met people in between and all of that. And these things I've really noticed, not just from my own experiences dating, but also this has come up, actually, believe it or not, in some of my coaching calls with both the men and the women. Okay, this is an issue for all of us. And we're talking about, you know, third wave feminism, not original feminism, you know, the feminism that got hijacked by the CIA and Gloria Steinem and all that stuff. Yeah, that's the kind of feminism we're talking about, and how it's literally just, it's just broken down everything. So I've got some notes here on points I want to make sure I don't miss. But let's just talk about first, this is something that I've had come up with some of the men in my coaching calls when it comes to dating, is that you guys are kind of paralyzed. You're kind of frozen on how to communicate with a woman, or what to say, what you're not supposed to say. Can you pay her a compliment? Can you not pay her a compliment? You know, can you touch her hand? Can you not touch her hand? Because everything is harassment these days. And it's not to say that harassment doesn't exist and that it is a problem, because there is a problem with it. But it's been blown way out of proportion. And what this has done is, like, feminism has really taken flirting, a very, you know, normal engagement between, you know, any two people who are attracted to one another, away. Like, it's kind of like, I've noticed that, do you know how hard it is to meet someone in person these days? Flirting almost seems non-existent. And I've actually talked to guys on my dates about this, about how they don't even, like, they watch their friends who are afraid to flirt or don't know how to flirt, and a woman who doesn't even know how to, you know, realize she's being flirted with. Like, you know, I was listening to this podcast a while ago, a few months ago, Aubrey Marcus's podcast, and he had a guy on there who teaches women how to pick up the handkerchief again. And I feel like women have forgotten or lost the art of knowing how to pick up the to drop the handkerchief. To drop the handkerchief is what I say, so that men can actually pick up the handkerchief. And, you know, I feel for you guys out there, because dating is not easy in 2020. I mean, it's gotten progressively more difficult over the last, I want to say, decade or two, just because of the online stuff, but also because of this increased, like, drama around feminism and the man being, like, you know, the perpetrator of everything going wrong. Like, literally, the man has become the boogeyman of all our problems. And so, you know, as a woman, I want to receive a compliment on a date. I've actually been on dates where we've spoken for an hour and a half, and the entire time I haven't received one compliment. And I'll compliment the man, you know, it's not like I'm waiting for him to make a move. Like, I'll compliment the man. And I'm like, because isn't that how you show interest in someone? Isn't that one of the very basic ways that you show interest to someone? And I remember I was on a date with this guy last month or 2 months ago or something. And I was convinced this guy's totally not into me. He's totally not interested at all. I mean, the conversation was great. We talked a lot about spiritual stuff. He seemed to be very interested in that, but never asked me anything about myself, really. Kept talking about himself, which I think he was kind of nervous. I'm going to give him that. I think there was some nervousness there. But I was like, well, I got to end this date. I got to get out of here because this is completely a wash. I don't want to waste any more of my time or his time. And I'm like, this guy is totally not into me. And then as I'm getting ready to wrap it up and I'm saying, okay, well, it was really nice to meet you, he finally compliments me. And I'm like, dude, where were you the last hour and a half? Like we could have maybe built on something here. And then I for sure thought he didn't want my number and he's wanting to ask me for my number. And I'm like, so confused. And I'm like, why are men so scared to flirt? And I feel like feminism has turned men into a lot of either they're paralyzed or they're betas. And I know a lot of you guys in my audience aren't like that. But this is like a reality that I'm talking from my own personal experience, okay? I'm talking from my own personal experience. And then when I listen to the men who I coach and hear their concerns about I don't even know what to say. I don't even know if I can look a woman in her eyes anymore because they just look away. And it's crazy what this has done. So it just seems like their flirting has gone out the window because I don't know, can it be misconstrued as harassment these days? Because it's gone so far to one extreme of what harassment is now. There doesn't seem to be a proper boundary of that. It kind of feels like it's obscure and it's up to the person and how they feel. And, I understand there's going to be different grades here, but come on, this is now a problem as far as I'm concerned, because when two people come together, whether it's man and women, two men, two women, whatever it is, when they come together, it's a very sacred union. It's an act of love. And when two people are in love with one another, it creates this beautiful bond that energetically is so powerful. And we're losing this ability on how to truly connect from the very basic acts of communication. So the next thing that I have a problem with is obviously chivalry, which I want to believe it's not dead because one of the things, and I'm totally guilty of this, okay? I'm totally guilty of this because I kind of grew up with a lot of feminism indoctrination through the schooling system. And one of my best friends was a total feminist. I wasn't totally into it, but it was always around, you just kind of go with things. And so, I was like, oh, I can totally do that for myself. I don't need a man to hold the door open for me. I don't need a man to lift my luggage up into the carry-on, rack above on the plane. I don't need a man to pull out my chair for me. I just and the reality is that I actually really enjoy all those things. And it has nothing to do, ladies, with you not being able to do anything. When we talk about the divine masculine and divine feminine principles, one of the main principles of the masculine energy is to give. It's a giving action. The feminine principle is to receive. Okay? And so depending on who's the more feminine energy, because I know there are same sex, people dating, that whoever's the more feminine energy, you're it's in your natural rhythm to receive on a date and have someone who's in the masculine to offer their expression of looking after you. It's about taking care of you. They're not doing it because you can't do it. Sorry, I think every man knows you can hold open a door. I think every man knows you can pull out your own chair. It's a nice gesture. And I think that's the other thing too, is that when we come down to expression of someone's own heart, someone's own feelings, communication wise, these gestures are, just from like, if it's a man doing this for a woman, it's an expression of their own gratitude and kindness towards you for being a woman. Okay. And of course, like, just flip that around energetic wise if you're same sex, but you guys know where I'm going with all this. And I just, like, when we block off chivalry, we're saying to men, like, you're not allowed to express your gratitude or kindness to me in the way that you want to. And I don't, we gotta change this. Can we stop that? Because I most certainly love when a man will walk on the outside of the sidewalk. I actually look for this sort of stuff. On my date, I pay attention to this stuff. I pay attention to, if we're walking down the street, is he walking on the inside or the outside? Is he gonna pour my glass of wine for me when it starts to get low, or is he only pouring his own glass of wine? And again, if I go to pour my own glass of wine, I will pour his first for him too. To me, it's just common, like, courtesy. It's like manners. I don't know. So, yeah. And I just feel like feminism has a lot to kind of blame for all of this. So, women wonder why they can't find a quote unquote real man. Or they feel like they are always walking all over their men, like their men don't stand up for anything. And I see this all the time. I see this in relationships of people I know. And it breaks my heart that this is the dynamic that has been created because, whether you're a woman or a man, you deserve to have boundaries. You deserve to say, like, that's not acceptable in how I should be treated, and one of those things that really irks me is the term mansplaining. I hate that term so much. I don't even know, like, when did that term come into existence? Because I just remember hearing it just a few years ago, but maybe it's come out sooner because I didn't watch a lot of TV while I was living on the island. I wasn't really paying attention. I was kind of in my own bubble. But this whole idea of mansplaining is, I'll tell you what this is. The reason why this is such an issue and such a problem, and why it has led to the destruction of a lot of relationships, and even just the initiation of a potential relationship like dating, is that mansplaining shuts down the throat chakra, the solar plexus, and the sacral chakra of a man, in deeming them not valuable or worthy enough to have an opinion or a thought process on anything that may just, I guess it refers to, I don't know, you know what? I can't even say that, because I was going to say that maybe it's just about like female issues, but I've actually seen it being used when it's just about general stuff. Like, women use it to say, like, don't mansplain to me. And basically it's a defense mechanism that a man might be probably saying some truth to you that you don't like to hear. And so then you just instead drop for the mansplaining like word, and it's a trigger, of course, for everyone. And it's kind of like, it just shuts everything down. And the fact that, men now have this term to deal with, and it just, to me, it bothers me, because each and every one of us has a right to think any way we want, to speak any way we want, despite if we may like it or not. Someone may not like the way we speak. And, we all have the option that if we don't really like the way someone's talking, you can say something, you can bring it up, you can communicate it in a healthy way, or you just choose not to talk to that person anymore. There's a lot of options there. But shutting down like this mansplaining term, like, we need to do that, because I really don't like that at all. The reason why I said the sacral chakra is because that is where a lot of our abundance is locked in, our creativity. And if we're not able to express our own, when you think worthiness and value comes from how abundant you feel, like, that's a horrible center to shut down. And I gotta tell you, like, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, I really believe that these kind of things are the things that are leading to, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, okay? I'm not pretending like this is the only one, but I feel like this is the thing that's kind of starting to lower male sex drive. It's lowering male, like, desire in the bedroom. I know this is becoming a very big issue for a lot of men and obviously women. And it is because what we're doing, what feminism is doing, is it is literally shutting down a man's desire or ability to feel his own virility of his own masculinity. Okay? Like, he's not allowed to have primal, feelings or instincts or, like, whatever they are. Like, we're kind of shutting down that primal kind of instinct. And, we can't turn men into women, and men shouldn't be turning women into men either. I think it's more like feminism trying to turn women into men, to be quite honest. But like, relationships really suffer because of this, because men now don't have the ability to communicate in the way that they need to. And when someone feels shut down, they don't feel good enough. They don't feel worthy. And when that shuts down, you shut down the sacral chakra, which is where, a lot of our sexual energy comes from, the sacral and the root. And again, with the root, if someone's telling me I'm not allowed to speak a certain way, all of a sudden I don't feel safe to, like, express myself. And where does safety lie? In the root chakra. So it's like, there's just so many issues here that are going on. And just to go back to, like, the solar plexus being shut down by this mansplaining term, and a lot of things that feminism has done, is, your solar plexus is your identity. It's like who you are. And if a man isn't even allowed to express himself in whatever capacity he believes he should be expressing himself or wants to express himself in who he is, in his own thought process, like, we're totally shutting down his identity. And there's nothing attractive about a man who doesn't have his own identity or doesn't feel empowered enough to speak his mind. Like, if I'm out of bounds in the way I've spoken to someone, I would want them to tell me, whether it's a man or a woman. Like, tell me. I'm not allowed to talk to someone in a certain way. And it goes both ways. But at the same time, you don't get to shut someone down just because you don't like what they're saying. Okay? There's a difference between, like, someone being, like, obscenely rude and that versus someone who's just expressing their truth in whatever capacity that is. And so it's really important that we kind of do that. And then kind of just really quickly, the other one that I don't like is manspreading. I see this on the subway when I'm back in Toronto. And I remember looking up going, huh? And I'm like, did the females forget about anatomy? Like, did feminists forget that there's a little bit of an anatomical difference here that we don't have between our legs? And so it's really easy for us to keep our legs closer together. And it's probably not very healthy for men's sperm count to be having, like, their legs so close together. It's just like, this is, to me, basic science stuff, like common sense. I don't know what's happened. But again, like, the whole manspreading thing, like, sure, some guys maybe, like, take it to an extreme and, like, don't need to take up 3 seats at the same time, but let a guy spread his legs and, keep the blood circulation flowing. That's, like, one thing that I just, yeah. Sorry if this is, like, a little bit really into the details, but we got to talk about this stuff, I feel like. So yeah, the other thing that I want to talk about is this idea of, men being turned into women because of this, like, a man's got to be in touch with his feelings and he's got to communicate that better. And yes, absolutely. As a society, we've shut men down in the heart chakra. We've not allowed them to express their own feelings. We've taught them that it's not masculine to, like, talk about your feelings. And absolutely, I completely agree with that. However, men express themselves differently than women. And to be quite honest, women don't have it right either when it comes to expressing their feelings. Women are overly emotional and overly sensitive. I don't want my man to be like overly emotional and overly sensitive with me, where I feel like I'm walking on eggshells and I can't say one thing without setting them off or triggering them. Like, that's not the way to communicate either. We all have to learn how to communicate from a place that allows us to have healthy discussion from an emotional place that is heart-centered and intact, with someone who feels worthy enough to speak, knows their own abundance, knows their own worth and value, and because of that, doesn't get triggered by someone who says something, expresses themselves in their own way and you take it personally. Like, there's so many things where, through expression, we're taking things personally, and it's like, let someone just have their thought and not make it about you. If we just didn't have to make everything that someone said about us and turn it into some sort of projection or something, that's where triggers come in. And that's why it's so important to understand where your triggers are. Because if someone needs to express something and it's going to trigger you, you may be just set off by the smallest thing, man or woman, women and men tend to deal with it differently. Men just tend to shut down altogether because that's their go-to. That's what they've been told to do, so to speak, through society. And women just want to talk even more and just get it all out, And sometimes space is good. And sometimes, shutting down is not. And we got to there got to be some sort of understanding here. And so balance, as always, is the key. And what's the number of balance? 6, the union number, right? And so, yeah. So even at the end of the day, communication in general just needs to be healthy on both fronts. Men, just remember, men in general are a little bit more logical by nature. Doesn't mean always. Some men are more emotional. And women generally are more emotional about the way they communicate things. And again, not always. Some women are more logical. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to individuality, but also understanding that our biology does play a role in certain things. And we have different hormones, we have different makeups, all that kind of stuff. Plus society is programmed in us different ways. And we all have our own healing journeys to go through. But yeah, dating's become a little bit of a disaster. And I really think social distancing is the least of our problems at this point. So just gosh, let me just see the chat here. Looks like it's been going here. I think Israel, gaslighting and denial is a hell of a drug, should be on the class 1 schedule list. Yeah, I agree. There's so much gaslighting. But then again, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. So, I don't know what we're going to do about this, other than we have to stop it with our own selves, when we're engaging in conversations or on actual dates, or when you're with friends and you hear them use these terms and say, hey, that's actually not helping the situation. And that's actually, to me, mansplaining is a bit degrading to a man. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like that's a bit degrading to you. And also manspreading. Oh boy, it's yeah. Just remember that there are certain energetic principles that are played out in the male, female, and whether it's bodies or energies, okay? And so it's very important to remember that the masculine energy is very much the giving energy, and the feminine energy is very much the receptive, okay? The receptive principle versus the giving principle. And we all have to be able to kind of play both roles, but also understand that, as a woman, it makes me feel good when a man wants to take care of me in those kind of ways. And I think it makes a man feel really good that he's allowed to take care of me. It gives him a sense of it makes him feel, I think, more like a man, that he's doing something good for me. And he's kind of like, in some ways, maybe protecting me, whether he's walking on the outside of the sidewalk and not on the inside, or, like, holding the door open for me, and things like that. It just, man, how do we like time travel back and go back to the 60s and like take that back? We need to time travel back. But I understand that we need to all go through these lessons and these polarity shifts to understand how we come back to center. I totally get that. Lisa, I think people are dating before they're truly ready within themselves. I know I did, and I married before I was truly ready. Him too. That wasn't good for anyone. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can date as you're healing yourself. But it's true. It's a very true statement, Lisa. I feel like, we've all been shut down to avoid going within and avoid all our, our pains and our traumas and our dramas and wounds and all of that, and learning how to heal them and understanding where they're rooted in and why we get so triggered over certain things and why we react certain ways and how do we fix that, because they're very fixable, like I'll be really honest with you guys. I was a hot mess in my 20s. Like, I feel sorry for the guys I dated in my 20s. I had 3 long-term relationships, and although like they were not good either, like they were totally wounded as well. But I could, just when I owned my side of the street, I was so sensitive and so emotional. Like, I took everything personally, and every little thing was like, why don't you care about me? Or why don't you love me? Or, I remember that with one guy, and then another guy was way too needy, and I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling suffocated. And I started to shut down. Like, he was more of the feminine energy and I was more of the masculine energy. But then like I was being emotionally manipulated all the time. And, like it kind of swings depending on like what lessons I think you're going through at the time and what kind of relationship you brought into. But I cried on a dime, I was always emotional, super, super emotional. God, it scares me just to even like look back at it. But obviously I have compassion for myself because I understand where it all stemmed from. And I mean, it's not to say that I don't cry now, but it's not on the same level. Like, it's not triggered by those same things anymore because I've done a lot of healing. I've gone in and I've looked at the roots and I've seen where it all stems from. And I'm like, wow, I don't want to put that on someone else. That's not for them to like take care of. That's my stuff I got to take care of, and how does our own wounds and traumas impact our relationships for the worse? And again, relationships are one of our greatest teachers. When we come into a relationship with someone, it doesn't matter if it's an intimate relationship or a friendship or a family relationship, whatever it is, they are some of our greatest teaching grounds. And it's because as soon as you start to care for someone, you start to allow yourself to be more vulnerable, all the wounds start coming to the surface, everything gets triggered, and you're there to, those people are there in your life for you to both teach one another what those wounds are, but it's our ability to actually heal them. A lot of us just ignore it or avoid it or project it and say, you're the problem. And so we've kind of like, I think though, like, I'll be honest, I feel like in this day and age, I am seeing more, I guess maybe it's because of who I'm surrounding myself with. I don't know, but I am seeing more of an awakened outlook on how to deal with self in relationship and not to put everything on someone else, and to be very mindful of your side of the street. So, yeah. Phillips, oh face, I'm a buck in the forest, scraping the ground and tearing up the trees, stamping my hooves and pissing wherever I like. I am man and I am unstoppable. Go mark your territory. Go mark your territory. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, there is an aspect of women just needing to be women and men just needing to be men, and not trying to change that, unless it's really destructive. But listen, men aren't going to truly understand us on some level, and women aren't going to truly understand them. And we've got to be okay with that. What happened to a little mystery? Where did the mystery, like, when was that such a bad thing? We're now live in a society where we got to know everything right away, instant, like at our phone, touch tone, like whatever, like I need to know the answer right now, like yesterday. And we've forgotten how to live with a little mystery in our lives and not always having the answers. And I feel like that's kind of something that we all need to come into more comfort with at this time. So yeah, that's my little rant on dating in 2020. I mean, if feminism wasn't bad enough, like feminism with coronavirus and social distancing and all that kind of stuff, like wow. It's crazy. So I love how LOA works in our relationships. They reflect our inner selves. Thanks, Kaden. And okay, let me see. Nicole James, mirrors. Yeah, we're all mirrors. We're all like, your life is a mirror. All your relationships are mirrors for you. It's very helpful. Let me just see here. Above duality, and if you're really serious about serving your partner in a long-term relationship or marriage, you're going to need a relationship mentor, someone with an amazing relationship who's willing to mentor you into having the same dynamic as they do. Most people have no idea why they're dating. It's so true. Spot on, Dave. So let's see here. Does Scott want lots of attention today on his birthday? Like, what's going on there? Let's see here. Just kind of looking. Let me see really quickly. Matt Olson, you nailed it, doll. Hey, and I don't mind being called doll either, I don't be mind called sweetie or honey, I'll call a man handsome. Hey, handsome, I don't think there's anything wrong. I think a cute little nickname or whatever is totally fine. Let's get over ourselves already, okay? So guys, that's kind of like my rant. I'm going to leave it there because we're already at like 30 minutes. Love you guys so much. Oh, wait. So a couple announcements here. One, I'm going to start, I released a little kind of intuitive read today on my Instagram and Facebook, and I did post it in the community on YouTube, but I'm going to probably be doing it more on Instagram, where I'm going to start doing a little mini reads for the day, or messages that seem to be coming in, and it'll be on a post. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'll probably be a little bit more active with it there. A link to that is in the description below. Also, Alchemist. If you want to join my alchemy program, our Discord chat's pretty freaking lit. Loving it. We've got someone in there who's about to give us some light language transmissions. If you want to join, just join the alchemy program and you'll get access to the Discord chat. It's been a lot of fun getting to know all of you, and our live call is next Sunday, which I'm looking forward to doing. And we go over all those astrological alignments. And of course, if you guys need any help, whether it's reading or coaching or inner child work, I love working with you all. I've seen some great shifts in some of you this week through the coaching sessions and inner child work especially. It makes me so happy to see it, I can't tell you. And there's you guys rock. I honestly have an awesome audience. You guys do your work, you're getting through all the shit, and you're not afraid to face your fears. So love that. All right, guys, I'm going to end it there. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you guys next time. Lots of love.